I'd like to call the Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners regular meeting for Wednesday, November 16, 2022 to order. Clerk, can we please have roll call?
10 present, 2 absent.
10 present, 2 absent. Please note that Commissioner Anderson and Commissioner Sorich are absent from tonight's meeting. Moving on to the prayer and the pledge, Commissioner Thatcher, could you please lead us in this?
Fellow Commissioners, Almighty God, we implore you, look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which so greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move on to the approval of the minutes for November 2nd, 2022. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I move to approve the minutes of the November 2nd, 2022 regular meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone, yeah, Sean, I see there. And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Yeah. I believe so. Yeah. Okay, seeing we don't have any items not addressed on the agenda, I'll do the Chief Executive's report. We see winter's coming on to us now. Should be nice and cold in the morning, so it'll be a nice, bright, shiny day tomorrow morning. And our crews are out hard at work. You see that even in our first snowfall, they are out picking up snow and getting things done. And so really proud of the efforts of our crews and the Public Works Department on what they're doing. I've got one great announcement. The Meadville Christmas display that has been down for many years. Chris Fisk and the Montana History Club, along with a lot of community members, recreated the Meadville display and put it up over at the Racetrack Fire Hall. We've got a group, the firemen, the Butte firemen, paid firemen, that are going to put together and put the display back up. We're at risk of taking it down. We almost had the poles down and taking that all down, and so that Meadville display is going back up again. And so I want to thank the Butte Fire Department for taking on that effort to put it back up. I know Mr. Fisk and his kids and the community members, and I know Charlie Worley was a big part of that, and God bless his soul. But you know, I think Chris lost all of his expertise and help that he had during the years, and so we really appreciate the effort that the fire department is going to do that. So another thing, as you know, 1923 continues to film over the next few days. There's going to be a lot of activity and some disruptions in Uptown Butte, but you know, this is another, you know, really fantastic thing that we're seeing, the activity, and pretty soon that production is going to be airing for us. So we'll actually get to see what that was all about and see some of the people in this room that are part of that. So and tonight you'll be presented with a contract for them to continue for another year through December of next year. So excited about that, to talk about that, and look forward to your potential approval. Lots of excitement around the Cat Grizz game. I don't know where everyone stands with that. I'm a Western Bulldog, so I don't have to really invest too much into that, but it's kind of cool that college game day's coming into town, and so that's, you know, Montana's getting a lot of spotlight this year, and so that's exciting for us. So with that, I'm going to go on to our next piece of my Chief Executive's report here. I want to introduce our new Undersheriff, Mark St. Pierre, who I introduced 2 weeks ago about that his appointment from Sheriff Lester. So I'm going to let Sheriff Lester introduce Mark tonight.
Mr. Chief Executive, Madam Chair, members of the council, for the record, my name is Ed Lester. I'm Butte-Silver Sheriff. I'd like to thank Chief Executive Gallagher for giving me a couple minutes on his report time to introduce the new Undersheriff. I've been a police officer here in Butte for 33 years, and for almost 32 of those years, I've had the privilege to work with Mark St. Pierre, literally from the time he started until now. So Mark has served as a patrol officer, a patrol sergeant, patrol lieutenant, a detective, a member of the SWAT team leader, and the SWAT team commander. And so you can see through all the experience he's had in the department over the past 31 plus years, he's more than earned his position as undersheriff. Like I said, I've been a police officer for 33 years, and during that time I've had the privilege and the honor to work with some of the very best police officers that I think in the world. And Mark's certainly one of those. And if you look back, I evaluate a real good police officer with just one simple question. And I've had people ask me this. If there was a door and you didn't know what was on the other side of that door, but you knew it was bad, who would you take with you and pick somebody to take with you? And over 33 years, I've probably had a handful that I would pick to take with me. And some of those guys aren't with us anymore. Some of them are retired, some of them have passed away. Some of them are still in the department, but Mark's certainly one of those guys, because I know no matter how bad it got on the other side of that door, he wouldn't leave me, and we'd be together at the end of whatever it was. So it's my privilege and my honor to introduce Mark St. Pierre as the new undersheriff. He's here with his wife, Ann, tonight. So, Mark, stand up and take a bow, and Ann, too. Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive.
And I appreciate that, Sheriff Lester. And Mark, if you'd like to come up and say a word or two, or are you good with... I want to say something. I know that I haven't worked with Mark at the extent that Sheriff Lester has, but I can tell you this, in all the interactions I've had with Mark St. Pierre, he's been the most professional, well-prepared, and outstanding police officer, and then, as I said, sergeant, captain, and everything that in all my experiences with him. So I know we got the right guy for the job. So I want to congratulate you personally. I know it's great, but give you just a couple words if you'd like.
Push a little button down
There you go. You got it. It's ready.
Thank the sheriff for entrusting this great responsibility on me and the citizens of Butte. I don't take this lightly. I'll do my best to continue on with the tradition.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Thank you,
And
Mark.
congratulations, Ann.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on, we will move on to section 1, public comment. So we'll take any public comment on any item on the agenda. If you'd like to come forward, please state your name, address, and any item that you'd like to speak about on the agenda. And please note that you'll have 3 minutes, and we hold people to that 3-minute limit. Okay.
Deals that tells you what to do.
Mr. Pape, so it can be, you can do it right now, or I believe that Commissioner Shaw is also going to segregate it, and you can have some time to speak at that time. So you could do it either one. Okay.
Montana. And as the commissioners know, I sent a concern, and Barbara, I believe her name was, asked me if I wanted it on the agenda, like it shouldn't have been. But I don't know what else to do to get the chief executive's attention, because I've sent an email, I've called, I sent a note, and he hasn't responded. And I think I already think I pay too many taxes, and this is an example of one that I should get a response, because that's your job. As commissioners, you're supposed to serve the citizens of Butte. I don't need to be served, but it's not like I complain every day about stuff. The one time I do, I can't get a response. So it's pretty frustrating, and I'd like to know why I couldn't. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Pape. Moving on to Section 1, bid openings, public hearings, and/or presentations. We have one public hearing, communication number 2022-513, Karen Malakmy, Butte-Silver Bowl Health Officer, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence to hold a public hearing on November 2nd, 2022 for the purpose of amending the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget to allow for increased expenditures and unanticipated revenue resulting from Montana Healthcare Foundation grant. Director Malakny.
Proof of publication.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Do we have proof of publication? Thank you.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is proof of publication, and it does appear to be in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce. And now we're moving to the staff report. Director Malakny.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioners. I'm asking for permission to accept unanticipated revenue from the Montana Healthcare Foundation in the amount of $150,000. This grant will help support our behavioral health care crisis response system and one of our staff members. The grant goes through October of 2025. So,
Thank you, Karen. Are there any questions of commissioners? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing. First, I'll call for proponents. First call for proponents. Second call for proponents. Third and final call for proponents. Next, we'll move to opponents. First call for opponents. Second call for opponents. Third and final call for opponents. I'll close the public hearing. Next, we'll move on to consent agenda, A 1 through 4 and B 1 through, I didn't look to see how many we have tonight. 1 through 17. Do we have any friendly amendments or segregations? Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. I would like to segregate 13 communication number 2022-549.
That's number 13, communication number 2022-549. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I would like to segregate item number 11, and that's 2022-547.
That's communication number 11, 2022-547. Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. I would like to segregate number 5, number 2022-541, please.
That's communication. That's number 5, communication number 2022-541. Are there any other segregations? Seeing none, Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I move to approve the consent agenda, A 1 through 4 and B 1 through 17, with the exceptions of item 5, 2022-541, item 11, 2022-547, and item 13, 2022-549.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving back to item number 5, communication number 2022-541. J.P. Gallagher, Chief Executive, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to have Chief Executive Gallagher sign the 1923 location lease agreement for 2023. The agreement will go into effect on January 16, 2023. Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. The reason I segregated this is I see the Civic Center managers here, Bill Melvin, and maybe he'd like to get up and give us a little bit of a talk on what this lease agreement's about, and if we have a chance, we can have any questions he can answer them.
Thank you, Commissioner Callahan. Bill, would you like to give a little report? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. For the record, my name is Bill Melvin. I reside at 911 Montrose here in Butte. I'm here in my capacity as the Civic Center manager. Members of the council, Commissioner Dan Callahan is on the Civic Center board and has been a board member for many years. He's a very active member and misses very little as far as events at the Civic Center, and I thank him for that. And I also thank Chief Executive Gallagher. Last Thursday, the Civic Center board met and discussed the possibilities of extending 1923 John Pat Gallagher was there, and he did a great job of explaining everything to everybody. We had some citizens there, and everything was positive. I will have to tell you that there were some people from the business community that made a huge difference. I don't know if any of you know Mike Johnson, but he's involved with a lot of hotels around town and in Anaconda, and they have felt the full effect of this particular entity being in our community, and it was nice to have him there to tell us how much it meant for him, because the question we always have is, what about the loss of tournaments and other events bringing rooms into hotels? And they do, and they're great for our community, but I don't think there's anything that has touched it quite like this production.
Thank you, Bill, and I can say, just kind of to let everyone know, 1923 came in. We talked to them about, what the extension of this lease would mean, and about what that impact has been to the community. There are impacts that affect people that utilize the Civic Center Annex and stuff, and so we kept the lease at what we were leasing everything for, the price of that to continue, even when they're just doing the Civic Center Annex and then coming back and using full use of the facility after June 2nd. And that would be the day after Butte High's graduation when they would move back into the Civic Center. And that lease would extend to December 31st. I can say this, I know there's disruptions and there's things that people have to adjust to, but I will say that the production has been fantastic to work with. They try to accommodate everything we can, and we've got a great team, and I'll give credit to Bill, his staff down at the Civic Center, also Karen Burns, who works with permitting, and our public works, and just how everybody, police, fire, joins in and makes sure that this works out well for everybody. So I just want to say that I believe this is a good thing, and I hope that we are able to pass this tonight. Any other comment? Okay, seeing none. Commissioner Callahan.
Therefore, I would make a motion that we go ahead and concur and place on file communication 2022-542.
We have God, I was waiting for Commissioner Shaw. I'm looking at you. We have a motion and a second to concur and place on file. Is there anything else on the question? Seeing none, could commissioners please vote? Oh. Okay, 541. Thank you for that correction. Clerk, could you please record the vote?
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to communication. Number 11, communication number 2022-547. Edward Pape, Butte, Montana, informing council commissioners that he did not get a response back from Chief Executive Gallagher concerning a problem he encountered at the landfill. He would like to know what the taxpaying citizen of Butte-Silver Bow has to do to get a response from a government official whose function is to serve citizens of Butte-Silver Bow County. Refer to the Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Thank you, Mr. Pape, for coming here tonight. I just think that this, since I segregated it, it gives an opportunity for a dialogue. So you just don't have to make a comment, so that possibly we can get down to some of the details of your concerns. And so I would just defer to our Chief Executive.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Shaw. I'd like to respond to Mr. Pape and his communication. I want to correct the record. Mr. Pape was contacted. I have an email right here that I did send back on the day after he first sent his email to me. So that was the first communication that I sent back to him. Second communication, I called Mr. Pape and said, didn't get him. I got his voicemail, and I said I was looking into the issue and that somebody would get back to him about this. I contacted the landfill. I felt very comfortable about what the landfill said, that at 5:15 they closed down the landfill, the main landfill. The bins are open. They said that when Mr. Pape came, the load that he had was unacceptable, and they deferred him away, that he'd have to come back at another time when the main landfill is there. I want to kind of express on the record here, our landfill has longer hours, more extended hours, more weekend hours than any landfill in the state of Montana. There's lots of time to accommodate that. Mr. Pape then, after I got that, I did call Mr. Pape back again. At that time, I did not get his voice message. It rang and rang and rang. To me, when that happens on my phone, it means that he's probably on the phone because you don't get the voice message. I did receive his letter, and I didn't think his letter deserved a response. It was very accusatory. It was very defamatory. I didn't think it deserved a response, and so I chose not to. I did respond to Mr. Pape 3 times. So to say that Butte-Silver Bow Chief Executive was not responsive to him, I have a record right here of the 3 contacts. So I understand if he's frustrated, but you know, that's the way the landfill functions. That's how everybody is treated when they go out there. And so I apologize if he feels like he was not allowed to dump his load at that time, but that is the rules that they have there. I know there's some stuff about on the website and stuff, but it is posted when you get to the landfill. So
Yes,
you sure
Mr.
can.
Pape, you can come right up to the microphone. You're welcome to do so.
My phone, if anybody'd like to check it. I never got a phone call from you.
I've got the record right here on all of it.
Because I didn't get it at my email.
Well, I'm just,
I got them in that folder.
Mr. Pape, I'm sorry. I'm going to, I have record of it, and I'm sorry that you may not have received it, but it is here, and I can show it to anybody that would like to see it, including you.
I'd love to see it. 'Cause
Okay,
I never got anything.
I'll show you after, but we're
never
not
got a
gonna
phone
we're not
call
gonna
from
stop
you
the
either.
proceeding. But there was 3 contacts with you, Mr. Pape.
There was one
And-
phone call, you said you'd investigate it. You never got back to me.
There's an email right here. So, but, and as I said, your letter didn't entitle you to a response, and that is my decision at that time. So, Commissioner Shaw. Oh, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Thank you, Mr. Pate. I know these things come about, this way government works. I don't find it very constructive to be up here in the chambers arguing an issue that should have been discussed prior to this meeting tonight. We as commissioners have no input on this. We have no dialogue on this. We have no part we can play in this. We cannot, as said by the Chief Executive, have any directive with anyone that's employed or elected officials. So with this being said, I think that there is corrective action needed on some part or another, and it's not on our part as commissioners. I'm just going to say, this is not constructive for our community, no matter who's right or wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Any other commissioners like to speak on this? Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Excuse me one second. Dropped my pen. Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. I too agree that this is not constructive, but I do think that something constructive can come out of it. I'm just looking at the website, and I do think it would be kind of a good faith effort for us to add to the website that the last load must be unloaded by 5:15 to allow the staff to close the landfill down or whatever the closing duties are. I'm sure they have some things that they have to do, and we could be a little more proactive sometimes, and sometimes all of us can't see the forest for the trees, and we appreciate when things get brought forward so we can make corrections and make things better.
Thank you, Commissioner Shea. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive, and just want to remind everybody that the public has a right to speak. They can come here and speak about things that are on the agenda or not on the agenda. And we're here to listen. You can speak, and you should be heard, and we should at least take some action, whether the action is saying, like Chief Executive said, or we can go a little further. And I also kind of you know, not everybody's online, not everybody goes on a computer or is on Facebook or whatever, and I'm old, I'm just saying, but I always try to support people that may need to see the sign. Maybe the sign needs to be adjusted a little bit, or in the paper, I don't know. There are other ways, other media options. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shaw. I think that Public Works Director Neary would like to speak a little bit to this.
I shut it off.
Oh, okay.
There is signage at the landfill, right on the gate. It's a big
okay.
yellow sign that states that the last load is 5:15.
Okay, I apologize. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, Director Neary.
Microphone.
Real quickly, I left him a note on 9/30/22. Mr. Gallagher, I've been a teacher, a psychiatric tech, a business owner in our community, a Marine Corps officer, and I've never made half the salary you have been paid. Yet I have never ignored a student, an employee, a needy youth, or a Marine when they identified a concern or problem. Like it or not, I always gave them a response. And if you'd have gave me one, which you say you did, I would have accepted it. Not just a promise to investigate and get back. You never have. Are you still too busy? Question mark. Maybe I'm not important enough or didn't make enough money to be given a response. Ed Pate. That's what I wrote, and he says didn't deserve a response. Thank you.
And I stand by that. Commissioner Shea.
I just want to correct my comments. There is a mention of the 5:15 deadline for trucks or trailers and the small household garbage till 5:30, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shea. Is there any other comment, Commissioners?
I'll just take it.
Okay. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive, and thanks again, Mr. Pate, for coming tonight. At this time, I would move to change my original recommendation, which was to refer this to the Chief Executive's office. I think we've taken care of that this evening. So I would like to make a motion to concur with Communication 2022-547 and place this on file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to concur and place on file. Is there anything on the question? Could Commissioners please vote? Yeah, Commissioner Shea?
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. On the question, what are we concurring with? Would it be a note and place on
It
file?
would to note and.
Okay.
yes.
Excuse me.
That would be correct. Thank you, Commissioner Shea.
I
So, substitute
correct
motion?
I just correct my motion to note and place on file.
so we'll correct the motion from Commissioner Shaw to note and place on file.
In the second also.
And we have a second. Could Commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk,
Oops, wait a minute, hang on.
we were missing
Gotta-
Commissioner Frederickson too. Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to communication number 13, 2022-540, Commissioner Frederickson. Mark Neary, Public Works Director, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to have Chief Executive Gallagher sign an agreement between Butte-Silver Bow and Griff Davidson for grazing cattle on Butte-Silver Bow land located on Basin Creek Road. Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Thank you, Director Neary. I just had a couple questions on this lease, and I do have a couple follow-ups also. But my first question has to do with, do we currently have a lease agreement with Mr. Davidson? I don't remember ever seeing this in the 4.5 years I've been on council, so.
Commissioner Frederickson, Director Neary.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Commissioner Frederickson, yes, and I don't know how far back it goes, but it's a 5-year term,
Okay.
each lease.
Thank you, Director Neary.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, so, the date on the lease agreement is August 16th, 2022, which was a few months ago. And has he been grazing cattle on there since then? And
Commissioner Frederickson, Director Neary.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Commissioner Frederickson, we had a mishap in the lease, so he did not use it. He was afraid to use it without the lease agreement. But that was the end of the old term. And he said, once this went through, he could still graze it, a little bit to make sure that it got, taken down like it was supposed to be, but.
Thank you, Director Neary.
And, yeah,
Commissioner
thank you,
Frederickson?
I appreciate that. And then my last question, and forgive me if this is not I know nothing about cattle grazing. My family's from the east side in Centerville. I've barely seen a cow. But is the $9.94 what you would normally charge, or how do you get that number?
Commissioner Frederickson, Director Neary.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Frederickson, I had the same thought. But then I called around, and that is about the going rate for pairs
Okay.
on leases, like Forest Service and stuff.
Okay.
Thank you, Director Neary.
Yeah, great. And I guess one last question.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't mean to, it sounds like this thing is fine, but the map wasn't attached to the agreement, so I just want to make sure where's this located?
Commissioner
Is
Frederickson.
It sounds like it's a little stretch of property between his, is that, okay.
Commissioner Frederickson, Director Neary.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Frederickson, Griff Davidson is the first northern neighbor to Basin Creek Reservoir at the park there. And it's just a sliver of land off the east side of the road there. It's a small piece right there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Director Neary. Any other questions of commissioners? Seeing none?
All right,
Commissioner
thank you.
Frederickson.
I'll move to concur and place communication number 2022-549 on file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to concur and place on file. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to Section 3, ordinances and resolutions introduced to judiciary. We have one tonight. Please note that. Moving on to Section 4, ordinances and resolutions for second reading. We have one, Council Bill number 2022-13, ordinance number 2022-13. Clerk, please read the caption.
Council Bill number 2022-13, ordinance number 2022-13. Ordinance amending Chapter 228 entitled Board of Health of the Butte-Silver Municipal Code, BSB-MC, specifically amending Section 228040 and 228050 and providing for an effective date herein.
Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place Council Bill number 2022-13, ordinance number 2022-13 on second reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place on second reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to calendar and other meeting events, please note all the different meetings that we have coming up in the month of November and early December. And we'll move on to any public comment on any matter not on the agenda tonight. If there's any item you'd like to speak about, please come forward, state your name and what you would like to talk to the commissioners about tonight. Seeing none, I will move to adjourn. Oh, Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. About 2 weeks or so ago in my district, there was an incident where a gentleman was taken to the hospital, and basically while he was being taken to the hospital, his house was robbed by individuals in the neighborhood and all that. And I just wanted to commend Sheriff Lester, because I've been a lot of phone calls and visited with the family yesterday. And I just wanted to pass the word on to Ed and his department and Officer Hardy about how happy the people are with the response and how things are going and all that. And like I said, when it's bad, sometimes you really get it, but this has turned into a great deal. And the people in the bottom part of Commissioner Anderson's, my district, and also in the parcel of Mr. Matkins have noticed the response, the times, and the department's effort in solving this deal. So they asked me to pass that on to you at this meeting, and thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reardon. Commissioner Shaw?
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Just a reminder, Monday we have a canvass for the election
Yes.
at 4:30. And I don't know if we have a show of hands of who all would be here, but anybody else? For Monday at 4:30? Well, anyway, we'll have
So
to.
we'll have to make sure that we have a quorum for that.
Yeah, and
okay.
what we can do is we can have other elected officials also
Right, okay.
participate, so.
Okay.
And then also, remember, Tuesday is our council meeting,
Yeah, Tuesday next week will be our
committee of the whole.
committee of the whole meeting before Thanksgiving. Okay. Moving on to our last item, and that is motion to adjourn.
I would move to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. I'll come and show it to you.